Welcome to the raw and uncensored Ambitious Podcast. During our time here together, I will be instilling all of the strength, power, and determination you will need to use the very stones thrown at you to build your ultimate empire. We will redefine the word bitch from the derogatory to the acronym being in total control of herself. So let's adjust our crowns and prepare to live life ambitiously. Yeah, here I am, the original HBIC, Katie motherfucking Boyd. And on today's episode of the Ambitious Podcast, I got a doozy for you. It's going to trigger some people. It's going to get some people's thongs up higher in their asshole than they already are. And it's about victim mentality, the signs, the causes, and how to get out of this godforsaken, low vibrational, annoying loop. No one likes a victim. And I have been known in the past to have played a victim role many a time in my day. And I still sometimes get sucked back into that energy because once it happens to you as a child, and we're going to talk about that a lot today on the Ambitious Podcast, it can keep kind of showing up because it's actually programmed and it's actually in the groove patterns in your brain. And you may not be this person, but I bet you billions, a zillion, trillion dollars that you know plenty of people that you work with, that are your family members, maybe even someone who you're married to or you're best friends with, or it could be your child or your mother, that is so deeply ingrained in this victim mentality loop. They cannot get out of it. And it starts to ruin your life because you love them. You want them in your life. They're part of your life. They could be your blood. They could be your family. But then there's just this, every time you see their name show up on your phone, you want to fake your own death. I've been there. I'm there sometimes still. I'm really going to help you today, and I want you to pay attention. So don't judge yourself if this is you, okay? Don't judge other people for being it. There's a definite reason why this happens, and I'm going to talk all about it so you understand it even deeper. And I always say to all the people from all across the globe that I coach and have coached for the past 25 years, when you know better, you do better. And if you know better and you don't do better, you're probably in victim mentality loop, spiral, roller coaster. Okay. We got to get out of it. But before I begin, I always want to give a huge thank you and a massive shout out to the people who listen to this podcast religiously, and they take time out of their busy lives to go wherever they listen to podcasts, whether it's on iTunes or Spotify, or they just share it out on their social media. They may, copy the link and paste it and text it to friends. They may email it to people. However you are standing up for the ambitious movement, I want to appreciate you, and I want to tell you how much I love you and how much I thank you from the bottom of my little black heart. So I'm going to read an amazing testimonial, and it's from iTunes, and it is entitled "The Highlight of My Week." And it's a 5-star review, and it's from PeopleSoft47. I don't know who you are, but if you're listening to this podcast and you email me at help at kbmfc.com, I'm going to send you the most beautiful, amazing gift. It's total surprise, and it's going to be worth your while. So please email me at help@kbmfc.com. Tell me who you are so I can send you a beautiful gift in the mail wherever you may live. Okay, so PeopleSoft47 says, I found Katie when she was interviewed by some other local New Hampshire podcasters I listened to, and I am so glad that I stumbled upon her. She is the real deal. It's the first thing I turn on when I drop my kids off at school. This podcast makes me actually snort laugh out loud, which thank you so much, in my car with the jokes and the blunt truth that Katie drops in these episodes. She's smart, motivating, and incredibly interesting. She does a fantastic job of interviewing people, as well as brings on fascinating people that expand your thoughts and cover a wide range of issues. I love that she's not afraid to have an opinion on something, even if it's going to ruffle some feathers. It's really refreshing to hear someone speak in this way, especially these days. I love, love, love this podcast, and I can't get enough. Also, this is the only podcast where I don't skip through the intro because it literally hypes me up. Love you, Katie. Thank you so much, PeopleSoft47. Please email me at help@kbmfc.com. That was just, I'm so grateful for that. And the other thing that I want to talk about before we get into the Victim Mentality podcast, Signs, Causes, and the Ways to Break the Cycle is, I don't know if you guys know, but I've been in the health and wellness industry for the last 25 years. I've been voted the best coach years and years and years upon years throughout the world. And 4 years ago, when the pandemic hit, I thought I would never open up Katie Boyd's Misfit Club again. And surprise, 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 she's open again. And she is killing it. And she is just giving motivation. She is giving next level. And I am so in love and just reinvigorated by getting back into, as some people call it, the Pink Palace. Some people call it the Pink Prison. Either way, it doesn't matter. They're there. They're working on their goals, their dreams, their aspirations. They're lifting weights. They're building muscle. They're getting their nutrition plans. They're doing healing sessions. They're doing one-on-ones with me. They are doing yoga and kickboxing and just meeting other like-minded women. So if you are local-ish, I want to gift you a free month of Katie Boyd's Misfit Club in Hudson, New Hampshire. And if you're not local-ish, I want to give you a free month of the Ambitious app. And what's so cool is that every class that I do at Katie Boyd's Misfit Club during the week is actually recorded and then also shared on the app. And sometimes we do it live. Sometimes it's pre-recorded. Every day is different. Every day is a winding road, as Sheryl Crow would say. And we're just doing our best over there to get those videos up on the app. So even if you can't get to Katie Boyd's Misfit Club, you can experience everything that Katie Boyd's Misfit Club has to offer, plus all of the tens of thousands of hours of coaching and live coaching that I do every week, the nutrition plans, the breath work, the sound healing, the meditations, the camaraderie, the bitchterhood, as we call it. It's just so beautiful to see women from all across the globe who are desiring deeply to break out of the matrix, to step into their power, to remember who the fuck that they are and be part of this bigger movement, which is ambitious. So there are no excuses if you don't live near Katie Boyd's Misfit Club. But either way, I want to gift you a free month of Katie Boyd's Misfit Club classes and a free month of the app in conjunction with each other or singularly, depending on where you live. So if you're ready for that, scroll down to the show notes and you can sign up for the free month of the app. And then what I'll have you do is once you join the free month of the app, I want you to direct message me on the app. It's just like having my cell phone number. I will answer you right away. And it's me. It's not anyone else. It's totally me answering you on the app. And we will get you scheduled to come into Katie Boyd's Misfit Club. And if you're living too far away, that's okay. You can just do the free month of the app. And at the end of the month, if you're ready to purchase it, I will send you the link to purchase the app. And you are going to not regret it. It's going to change your life. Ask anyone over there that's been on the app for a long time or who has worked with me over the past 25 years that I've been in the coaching, wellness, health, female health industry. It's an amazing experience. And not to toot my own horn, but no one works harder than this bitch. Just saying. Okay. So when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And it's going to be the best service, the best quality. And ask anyone, you're going to feel like a total boss ass bitch in the most divinely feminine way. So hit me up. help@kbmfc.com, scroll down to the show notes, get the link, join the app, DM me, and let's get you over to Katie Boyd's Misfit Club for those free, amazing classes. Let's get your body to where it needs to be, your mindset where it needs to be, and your soul, your spirituality, all that stuff. So get on over there. Okay, fuck me, man. Oy, here we go. This topic has been brought up so much lately. It's been brought up singularly by people that I coach from all over the world. I've been seeing it in the media a lot. Like, it's cool to be a loser. It's cool to be the victim. It's way cooler to be pathetic and mediocre than it is to be strong and powerful. And I want to remind you that you are, no matter what you believe in religiously, spiritually, you are a child of the Most High God. Okay. You are made in the likeness and the image of God. So whatever God can do, whatever the universe can do, whatever you believe in, those higher powers, okay, you have that inside of you. There's no reason to be the victim. It is not your fault what happened to you as a child. It is not your fault, but it is your 100% on your shoulders to fix it as an adult. Okay. And if you have gone through hell like I have in my childhood and my young adulthood, abuse, neglect, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, narcissism, gaslighting, you name it, I've been through it all. Alcoholism, drug addiction, all of it. If you have gone through these things just like me, and you have on a silver platter here on the Ambitious podcast, okay, and on my app and working with me, and just not even if you don't even work with me, if you just listen to this podcast, right, and it just sparks you to go on YouTube and listen to more self-development and read self-development books, or you can buy my book, Ambitious, okay, right on my website. If you can do any of those things, you have in your pocket so much power to remind yourself who the fuck you are and that you are here for a purpose. You are here for a big purpose. And victim mentality is going to keep you from figuring out who the fuck you are. It's going to keep you so far away from the best, ultimate, highest version of yourself. And I truly believe, and I talk about this so much, it's ad nauseum on my podcast, on my app, in my coaching sessions, that I truly believe that hell is meeting the person you could have been if only you tried. Hell is meeting the version of yourself that you could have been if only you did the work to heal and learn and grow and evolve and just step into your power and remember who the fuck you are and be the baddest bitch on the block. And I don't mean be masculine. It's not girl boss era. That shit is over. I'm talking about taking control of the things that you can control and leaving everything else just to the universe, and trusting that the universe has your back, and knowing that you're not alone, and knowing that there's people out there that can help you. But you have to do the work. Like I always tell my girls on the app, I will give you all the tools that I used, okay, that I used to become who I am today. I cannot hold your hand and make you bang the hammer. I can't hold your hand and make you, use the drill. I can't do it. You have to do it. I can give you the tools, but you have to choose the appropriate tools for the appropriate jobs. Okay? So, victim mentality. What are the signs that you or someone that you know may have it? What are the causes of it? Because that's really important. But most of all, the most important thing that I'm going to talk about here on the podcast is how to break this shit. Because the longer that we stay in this low vibrational frequency, cycling at the vibrational frequency of a motherfucking slug in a puddle, the longer that we keep ourselves from greatness. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be a mediocre. Yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you. So, victim mentality. So if you or someone you know, you love, they're in your life, they're your colleagues, they're your coworkers, they're your BFFs, they're just, someone that is in your life maybe as a tormentor. And think of the word tormentor. What is the root of the word tormentor? Mentor. People who make you fucking aggravated, people who piss you off are there to teach you. So it's up to you to learn the lessons from the tormentors. There are so many people in my life and have been over the years and are in my life now that like I see their phone, I see their name on my phone and I'm like, fuck me, here we go. Or I, see them in passing somewhere at an event or a meeting or whatever. And I'm like, yep, here we go. I don't get triggered by it anymore. I used to get so fucked up. I used to get more fucked up than a soup sandwich when people would act like this around me. And now I'm like, obviously God thinks that I haven't learned my lesson yet. So I'm going to learn my lesson a little bit deeper today, working with this motherfucker. So if someone has a hard time trusting people or tends to believe that nothing you do will make a difference, right? People go, it doesn't matter. I can try my best. And no matter what I do, it's never good enough. I know you've heard these words coming out of people's mouths and maybe even your mouth. You or this person may struggle deeply with victim mentality. And if this is you or if this is someone you love or know, you are not alone. I would say, and I'm being pretty lenient here, 98% of the humans population are in victim mentality. I know that you're like, Katie, really? Almost 100%? Yes. And if they're not in it all the time, they have been in the past. And then there's just this sick fucking herd of these crazy motherfuckers who just never allow negativity to touch them. They just will not allow it. They were like, stand behind me, Satan. I rebuke you. We're not doing this today. I admire those people, and I deeply desire to model myself after them. And one good thing about me is that I know when I'm being this way, and I can pull myself out of it pretty quick. Most people, they don't even know. They don't even have the self-awareness to know they're being a victim, and they have a really hard time pulling themselves out of that energy. So we're going to go over today the signs of victim mentality, the causes and the consequences, and ways to break the cycle. Okay. So the actual definition of victim mentality. Okay. So victim mentality is a learned behavior in individuals who believe that they have no control over their life because they think nothing they do will matter. They think nothing they do will move the needle. They think nothing they do will shift the narrative or level them up or help them evolve or help them ascend. So they just sit stagnant, stale, like an old Cheeto that falls in your couch cushions, and you see it like a year later and it's still perfectly intact. And you may put it in your mouth and it's stale as fuck. That is victim mentality energy. I've never done that, by the way, so don't judge me. I'm speaking for someone else. So they tend to think bad things are always going to happen to them, right? You hear this like, oh, of course, when it rains, it pours. Oh, this always happens to me. You've heard these narratives. You've heard this verbiage, right? And others are always to blame. So when you're involved in a victim mentality relationship, whether it's you yourself or people that you know, they always fucking point the finger at other people. So that's like the number one telltale sign that you're like, oh, bitch is a victim. Motherfucker's a victim. That is like your harbinger of what is to come if you keep on this path with them, whether it's in a sexual relationship, a love relationship, a friendship relationship, a work relationship. Like, they never say sorry. They always blame everybody else. Like, it's a lot. And people that have victim mentality tend to feel a level of powerlessness. They have no agency, and they really, really lack accountability for everything in their lives. And it's crazy because one of my traumas, and I talk about this a lot here, and I talk a lot about this when we're doing shadow work over on the Ambitious app, is I talk a lot about betrayal. And a lot of people who have victim mentality, the primary root cause of their victim mentality is betrayal of trust. And betrayal of trust cumulatively over their lifetimes, and it just keeps playing out that way. And it usually comes from their childhood. So there's also a little kind of nuanced note that I want to just say here. And victim mentality versus an actual victim. There's a huge difference, because people come from me and they're like, I was sexually molested as a child. You're telling me that's my fault? And I'm like, no, I'm not fucking saying that's your fault. I'm saying if you're still talking about it and not healing from it and not doing anything about it when you're 75 fucking years old and it happened to you when you were 6, then you're fucked up. You don't like it, I hate to say it, turn the fucking podcast off. It's true. Like, do you think like it's my fault that my dad had alcoholism growing up? Did I know my father when I was in a past life and I made him an alcoholic? No, probably not. I mean, weirder shit's happened, right? But no. But guess what? It was up to me as the child of an alcoholic to break the chain. I talk about this in my book. I talk about this a lot on the podcast. I talk about this in the app. And my dad and I have such a beautiful relationship. I love him. I die for him. He's the best. But it wasn't until I had to take a step back and I had to say, okay, I keep doing this like merry-go-round situation with my dad. And when I stopped talking to him because his alcoholism was just getting in the way of everything in our lives, it forced ourselves, both he and I, to break the pattern. So he was like, well, I can drink and I can be an asshole and I can ruin, family dinners and holidays, but with my alcoholism and I can just be like, everyone has to forgive me the next day. And it's like, no, I don't have to do anything. Right? The only 2 things that I have to do in my life is pay taxes and die. Okay? Be sassy. So 3 things. And so when I stopped talking to my dad about, 10 years ago, he also had to take a step back and say, wow, she's really serious this time. And guess what? My dad, since I stopped talking to him, he got clean and sober, and he has not drank since then. So me being the brave, ambitious bolt cutter of my generational curses and my ancestral lineage, I could have gone down that same path easily and been an alcoholic. And there were times in my life that I think I did have problems with alcohol. Not going to lie to you, you know? And, people say it's a disease and it's in my blood and all these things. And again, that is also being a victim. Because, okay, if you had cancer, let's just say it's a disease, and the doctor said, okay, you have cancer, and if you do chemotherapy and you do, radiation, and we get you on a really healthy diet, and we do this, this, and this, you will get cured of your cancer. If you don't do it, is it the doctor's fault? Is it your dog down the street's fault? No, it's your fucking fault. And it's the same thing with anything. And when my dad got clean and sober, I was so proud of him, and I still am to this day, because I know how hard that is to heal from that. And I know where his alcoholism stems from now after like talking to him and having these candid conversations about his childhood and his life, right? I get it. But I had to be the one that had to step away so that we could both break this cycle of this victim bullshit back and forth. And now he's clean and sober. Okay. So sometimes we as the ambitious women, the HBICs, have to take the bull by the balls and do the thing that is hard and difficult and gut-wrenching and soul-sucking and heartbreaking and just so difficult, like so hard, to be the one that heals our family or heals our marriage or heals our relationships or whatever your goal is, right? So the difference between having a victim mentality and being an actual victim is that an actual victim's reality is based on real actions that may have happened to them, whereas a victim mentality is based on a perceived reality that something is going to happen to them based on their past experiences, either real or perceived, okay? So here's some signs of victim mentality. Here we go. Y'all ready for this? So number one, and you're going to recognize this in a lot of people. And you're also, if you're really a self-aware human, hopefully you are, if you're listening to the Ambitious Podcast, you'll also notice these things about yourself. Okay. Number one, negative self-talk or self-pity. They say things like, I never do anything right. You hear this. I hear this a lot downstairs at my husband's martial arts studio. The little kids, they're already saying these types of things. Thank God my husband is an amazing teacher and he focuses on self-confidence, self-esteem, and leadership and all that beautiful stuff. But I know that this is a learned behavior from their parents. These kids don't just come out with this shit. They're hearing this at home. The next one is they're pessimistic about the future. Like they're like, why even try? It will never work out. I've tried to lose weight 100 times and it never worked, right? I tried to get this business off the ground and it never worked. Okay, well, what's the alternative? Being a broke ass hoe and living in a van down by the river? What the fuck? Come on, guys. The next one is the fear of being taken advantage of. This is one of my biggest ones. I'm like, everyone's out to get me. Everyone's out to hurt me. People just want to use me. They want to pick my brain. They don't want to pay me for my 25 plus years of knowledge, which is not true. But there's something about my past, and I'm working on this still, is I always fear like people are going to take advantage of me. And guess what? When you fear that people are going to take advantage of you and use you, it tends to happen because whatever you think, whatever you say becomes your reality. So if you're saying, oh, everyone uses me, everyone takes advantage of me, right? And they think like, well, bad things like this have happened before, so they'll inevitably happen again. You're creating your reality. The next one is they're envious of others and jealous of others. So envious of others. They said, oh, well, it's nice for them because like they have all the money in the world and they can do all these things, right? And if I had money or if I had those talents or if I had those gifts, like I could, be the next Kobe Bryant, or I could be the next, Celine Dion as a singer, or I could be the next, Jeff Bezos or whatever. If you guys really understood, and I do understand what it takes, and I'm still not where I desire to be in my life, but if you understood what it takes to be like a 1% type person in anything, whether it's like you're the best pianist in the world, or you're the best singer in the world, or, you're curing some kind of disease, or you're a writer or a coach, or if to be at a high fucking level, it takes so much time and stamina and discipline and stick-to-itiveness. And, like you can't allow yourself to go into victim mentality. I'm telling you, anybody that's done anything in their lives, probably 100% of the time does not play victim. The next one is they ruminate on past bad experiences. So they'll talk about something that happened like during the Reagan administration. They'll be like, well, if I had this bad boss and she was the worst boss, and that's why I never got better at my craft, or this person, was the worst husband, and after we divorced, like, he was just the worst, and now I can't find love. And like they make these stories up in their minds, and they just constantly think about it. It's like, yeah, some of you guys are way too young for this, but one of my favorite shows when I was a little kid was Married with Children. And Al Bundy, he worked as a shoe salesman. He was a fucking loser. And he would always talk about like the time that he scored 4 touchdowns in one single game. And it's like, yeah, you're 60 years old. Why do you keep talking about, what happened to you when you were 16 years old? And it's just loser mentality. I love reminiscing about the past. I love talking to my friends that I grew up with about funny things that we did when we were kids. But if that's all you guys have to talk about, and there's nothing that you can talk about in the present, and there's no future goals, dreams, aspirations, then you're probably surrounded by a bunch of people in that victim whirlpool. The next one is they struggle to enjoy anything that's good, right? Like they're like, oh, I can't wait for summer. Summer's going to be so awesome. And then they're in summer and they're like, oh my God, the mosquitoes, it's hot. I'm sweating. I have Chub Rub. I have Mountain Dew. I have Swiss. I have Swass. I have, it's like, shut the fuck up. You were just complaining how cold you were and you couldn't like wait for summer to come. And I know this is like a frivolous thing that I'm talking about, but I know like if you're listening to this in present time, we're in the middle of June right now. And like, I'm living my best life. I'm full of mosquito bites. If you're watching this at home, I have like mosquito bites like all over me. I'm bringing everywhere. Who cares? Put some fucking cortisone, slap some fucking cortisone on that shit and shut your fucking mouth. Have a cocktail. Okay. The next one is they have lack of empathy. They're the type of people you get on a call and you just like want someone to hold space for you. Like you're going through something and they'll say like, oh, you think you have it bad. Like you should hear what happened to me this week. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I don't have friends like that. I just don't surround myself with people like that, but I know a lot of people like that. They're afraid to take any kind of risk. They'll say like, well, I can't do this because something bad always happens when I try. Like I can't lose weight because I know in a week I want to have a cocktail and I want to eat a sleeve of Oreos, right? It's like, yeah, everyone wants to fucking have a cocktail and eat a sleeve of Oreos, but I want to have a healthy body more than eating that one sleeve of Oreos, right? The next one is, this is a good one. They're disinterested in solutions. There's just like nothing could be done. Or have you ever met a person who has a problem to every one of your solutions? Like you're like, well, we could do that. And they'll say, well, yeah, but what about this? And you're like, what the fuck? And you'll say, well, what about that? And you're like, yeah, but this could happen. It's like, shut the fuck up. Again, what is the motherfucking alternative? This is a huge one. They reject feedback and they reject support. They'll say like, oh, I can't do that. It'll never work. Or they'll say like, oh, I have a hard time asking people for help because when I do, they always let me down. They always fuck me over. They never show up for me. It's like, maybe you're surrounded by the wrong people. You know what I mean? Maybe you're surrounded by the wrong people. There's another one. This is one of mine. They lack trust in others. I've had a lot of betrayal trauma. We're going to get into that today. And I've got into it in other podcasts, but no one understands. Therefore, I can never trust anyone. Like no one gets me. It's like, okay, shut the fuck up. And I'm saying that to you. And I'm also saying that to myself. The next one is they're cynical towards other people's motives. Again, the people are always out to get me mentality. That is victimhood. And the last one is the narcissism. Narcissism is very big within victim mentality. And they'll say, pay attention to my problems and you should feel sorry for me. Like, fuck your problems and fuck your life. And who cares about that? Like, all of your energy should be, go towards feeling bad and sorry for me. It's like, okay. And obviously narcissism is a huge mental illness and it's a personality disorder. So I'm not being light about narcissism. And I talk a lot about narcissism on this podcast. But there are a lot of narcissistic motherfuckers in the world. And I think that one of the reasons why people are so goddamn narcissistic is because they are living in this world of social media where it's everybody's a star and everybody's just like trying to do the most. It's like, just have a simple life and shut the fuck up. Is that too much to ask? I mean, honestly. So this is a little tip. It's a little tip I want to throw out there for you. One way to identify whether you or someone that you know has fallen victim to victim mentality is if they use like these absolute words, like words that are absolute, like never and always, to describe themselves, to describe situations, okay? Or even the motives of other people. So when you hear those two words, always and never, you know that you're dealing with a victim, just point blank. So what are the causes of victim mentality? Like, where does this shit come from? Because again, the more you know, the more you know, the more you understand, the more you can step back and go, oh, okay, like they're just caught in victim mentality. Got it. And this is how I'm going to react to it. Or, hey, maybe I'm caught in victim mentality and I need to fix these things and I need to really work on this shit. So usually, like I said before in the podcast, the victim mentality, the root cause of it mostly is behind a breakdown of betrayal or someone's trust. Right. And those things are so deeply scarring and so deeply wounding. Right. So what is the causes? I'm going to go through a bunch of them today. So number one is traumatic experiences. So these traumatic experiences from childhood, from young adulthood, even from a month ago, they're going to create these strong emotional reactions that will recur over time. Okay. So that's number one. So if you've had anything crazy traumatic in your life and you've never dealt with it, you've never healed from it, and you've buried it deep down inside, you're probably in a victim whirlpool. The next one is they have continuous and constant painful and stressful situations that lead people to react differently in the future. Right. So they'll go through something painful, they'll go through something stressful, and then all of a sudden their mind will get so fixed and they'll say like, I have to protect myself from this ever happening. Untethered Soul by Michael Singer is a really great book for this. He talks about like the samskara and like the thorn and all that stuff. I'm not going to get too much into it today, but if you really want to dive deeper into this, it's a great book. I love that book. The next one is they are a victim of exploitation in the past. So it could have been of emotion, energetic, personhood, or security, causing a lack of trust. So someone betrayed them. Someone exploited them. And now they think every time this is what's going to happen to me. They've gone through unfair treatment. A lot of people who have victim mentality were victims in the past. They just never did anything to fix it. They did nothing to heal it. They didn't use the tools. They didn't go searching. They didn't maybe even know that they had a problem. So unfair treatment, lack of respect makes people, as you know, and as I know, feel less than they are, And now like when people treat me unfairly, whatever that means, because I don't like what is really fucking fair in this day and age, right? What is fair ever? Or they just treat me kind of like shit. I just know now as an adult who's done a lot of deep spiritual, energetic, healing trauma work, it's not about me. It's about them. Maybe they're poopy pants, not me. Maybe they're little bags of shit. Why do I have to be the bag of shit? Why can't it be the other person? I sound like a victim right now. But, it's not about me. It's about you. If someone's acting a fool, it's never about you. It's always about them. Stop making it about you. And then you get stuck into the fucking victim mentality yourself. The next one is social rejection. This can really hurt. And it makes people feel unwanted. It makes people question others, It's sad. And it happens all the time. And it even happens to little kids, Don't you remember when you were a little kid getting picked last for kickball or having a whole table not want to sit with you at lunch? Like all of these things create layers and layers of this trauma that just accumulates over our lifetime. And then it makes us hardened. And I think part of life really, and, being an awakened being on this planet is like not letting those things turn you into, a curmudgeon. And I have been like antisocial and agoraphobic and pulled away from people. And, I've done it myself and I get it. And it's not a beautiful place to live. I want to be in a place of community and connectivity with people. The next one is unhealthy relationships. They had unhealthy relationships in the past, could be abusive, could be physically abusive, sexually abusive, mentally abusive, energetically, emotionally, psychologically abusive. And it usually stems also and tends to be from like a lack of boundaries or some kind of evidence of narcissism, gaslighting, and codependent relationships. Okay. The next one is the threat of avoidance as a means to cope with potential pain. So a lot of times people will just avoid people altogether because they're like, every time around people, I get hurt. Every time I do this, I get hurt. Every time I do that, or go to this place, or go over here, or do this thing, I get hurt. Someone hurts me. And then they're like, well, I'm just going to avoid all the things that hurt me. And that's what Michael Singer talks about. It's like having a thorn in your leg and then wrapping, plastic wrap around it and then like bubble wrap and then duct tape so that no one bumps into your thorn instead of just ripping the motherfucking thorn out, which is what we teach in Ambitious, is healing that emotional part of you and healing the trauma so that you can flourish and you can step into your power and you can be your biggest, brightest, best, most powerful self. And the last one, and there's many others, but these are like the main ones that I wanted to touch upon today, is extensive media exposure to trauma. This is huge. And I don't think a lot of people think about this. And I've been really working on this a lot lately. So exploitation or violence where people may not have a direct connection with trauma, but develop a sense of victimhood from indirect exposure. Like everything that's been going on, especially like the last 4 or 5 years in our world between, rioting and social injustice and all the shit that's happening in the government and the pandemic and the vaccines and just like anything that has been placed in our world to make a division and to make the other people the others, instead of all just realizing we're all going through the fucking life experience together. We're all one. We all have pain. We all have fear. We all get anxiety and depression. We all feel left out. We all have trauma. You think that when, you're born that you're just going to get out of this fucking life unscathed? Like, hell fucking no, it's never going to fucking happen. And another thing is I have a lot of trauma around this stuff too. And I noticed, and I don't know if anybody else feels like this, I would love to hear your thoughts, but I noticed that like when I watch like really violent movies, like Matt loves scary movies and he loves like John Wick, like shoot 'em up type shit. And like, I like it too, to a point, but I noticed like the more that I watch movies that have like certain scenarios in it, it just makes me feel so low vibrational. So I tend to try to go towards more things that make me, if I'm watching things or I'm reading things or I'm consuming social media, I tend to try to make my algorithms just more beautiful and loving and kind and happy and funny than like crazy sexual, graphic, abusive type of shit, Okay. So there could be all kinds of victim mentality, like so many different kinds. There's victim mentality in the workplace, right? There's victim mentality in families. There's victim mentality in loving relationships, right? And there's so many negative consequences when it comes to victim mentality. It can happen with, you may have really poor mental health, and you may have a lot of not really meaningful relationships, right? Like you have a lot of people around you, but no one's really like there for you. Like no one is going to be there at the drop of a hat to help you, or they will, but maybe you don't feel like that, right? It can also cause depression. It can cause anxiety. It can cause helplessness and hopelessness and all these things, right? And it's a real slippery slope when you start getting into all this, right? And I want to talk about how to really break out of the victim mentality. So like, I don't want to keep going down the dark path, right? You guys know, everyone here knows that they either know a victim, they know many victims, or they themselves are the victims, or all the fucking above. So how are we going to break out of this? And I'm going to use the tactics. I'm going to tell you the tactics that I have used over the years and still continue to use to pull myself out of that victim merry-go-round that no one wants to be in, but so many people find themselves in on a daily basis, right? So the first thing we're going to do, and this is so hard for me, so hard. so hard, so hard. Like it's such a hard thing for me. And I'm working on it every day. Okay. Is reflecting on my wins. Okay. So a lot of people, including myself, that have victim mentality have a difficulty seeing solutions and possibilities in their future. And one way that we can all help to reframe our minds are reflecting on the times in your life that you did succeed, even if it's small wins. Like over on the Ambitious app, every week we talk about our big wins because it's so important for A, you to recognize them, and B, for other like-minded people to support you and cheer you on and give you a pat on the back. It just feels good, right? And it's a positive thought loop instead of a negative thought loop, which is victim mentality. So remembering what success feels like and remembering that it's possible, you can regain motivation. Because let me tell you right now, a win for you, if you're deep in depression, you're deep in victimhood, a big win for you could just be like getting out of bed in the morning and brushing your teeth and like getting dressed. I know that's like, really, Katie? Yes. Anybody here who has had real depression and then found themselves in that energy, your vibrational frequency is so low. Like I said, it's cycling at the slug in a puddle rate. Okay. So think of a little slug in a puddle. That's how your energy is cycling at that frequency. It's hard. So sometimes just pulling yourself out of bed, brushing your teeth, slapping a friggin' fresh pair of underwears on. Okay. Could be the big win. Sometimes the big win is, and we talk about this, in my app a lot, is the bitch list. It's the 3 to 5 things every day that if you do, you're going to feel like a HBIC. Maybe your big win is doing your bitch list every day, right? I don't know what your big wins and what your successes are. And I don't know where you are in your life because everyone who listens to this podcast are totally in different phases and places in their life. But sometimes it's just the smallest things are the biggest wins. So here's a little journal prompts that I wanted to give you. So ask yourself and journal about this. What's the bravest thing you've ever done? I have a lot of brave moments in my life. I'm going to tell you something right now. Running for my local town planning board back in the spring was so, it's weird to say this, but it was so awakening to me because it reminded me post-pandemic that I could do hard things, and I've done really difficult things, and I've put myself in really uncomfortable, scary positions before and have come out triumphant and have learned so much. And I had no idea at that moment like what it was going to entail, but I'm so proud of myself that I did it because I got to meet all these amazing people and have all these great experiences. And it reminded me who the fuck I am, that I'm a HBIC of my ambitious life. So journal, what's the bravest thing you've ever done? Another journal prompt is, what's a risk that I've taken that actually turned out positively? Such a good question. Another one is, what's something I've accomplished that actually surprised me? Another journal prompt is, what character traits do I possess that have helped me overcome major difficulties in my life? Another one is, what are the top 3 challenges I've overcome in my life? What are my strengths and how did I best use them over the last year? And what is one thing I'm proud of doing in each decade of my life? So these are great reflective journal prompts, and just reminding yourself like you have made it through the hardest days of your life and some of the best days of your life are ahead of you. How fucking cool is that to think about? Like the best days of your life are actually ahead of you. Like that's exciting to me. The next one is, and I've been doing this a lot, is engage in acts of kindness. If you didn't know this about me, I'm now the president of the Women's Service Club in my town. And I thought that by doing the planning board stuff that I was going to be able to give back to my town. It wasn't for me. I didn't know that it wasn't for me until I knew that it wasn't for me, if that makes sense. But I knew that I wanted to give back to people in some way. And then I started going to these meetings where there's these amazing women that are local and they give scholarships to, kids going to college, and they raise money for the less fortunate, and they work with soup kitchens and Catholic charities and all these amazing things, right? And when I went the first time to the first meeting, I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. A community of like-minded women who dedicate their lives to giving back. And I'm sure no matter where you are in the world that there's, leagues like this and communities like this in your town locally that you can join, that you can give back to. But when you engage in random acts of kindness, like no one's holding a gun to your head saying that you have to do this. Dude, it is so amazing. And regaining that sense of agency, really, truly, in my opinion, is a helpful way to overcome being caught up in victim mentality. And like I said, one of the best ways to do this is by focusing outward on what you can do for others. And there has been many studies that show that engaging in acts of kindness is contagious and can even reduce stress. Some of the people who I know who have the most depression, the most anxiety, and the most victim mentality do nothing for other people. And they're just constantly always focusing on themselves. If you want to feel better, wake up and do something for someone else. That's why every day of my life, when I go into Katie Boyd's Misfit Club and I'm teaching these classes and I'm giving women nutrition plans and I'm setting goals with them and I'm doing healing sessions and I'm going on my app and I'm creating beautiful things over there and I'm live coaching and I'm speaking at different, speaking engagements and I'm doing sound healings and whatever I do, okay? I do a plethora of things, but whatever I'm doing, it makes me feel so whole. And no matter what I'm going through, it just, at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, look at all the amazing stuff I did for other people. And the beautiful part about the law of reciprocity is that when you do for other people, people do back for you. And it's a true universal law. So here's some ideas to get you started doing little random acts of kindness. Like I said, first thing is join some kind of a service community group, whether it's a Rotary Club, or it is a service club, or it's some kind of fundraising effort, or it's even just like, starting your own, if that's what you want to do. So that's number one. The next one, these are like little cute ones and fun ones, but writing a note to someone or or sending them a card that you love and tell them why you're grateful for them. Like you don't realize, like telling someone that you love them and why you're grateful for them and all the beautiful things they do, you don't know, like, and I don't want to be dark for a second, but I've lost a lot of friends over the last couple of years to suicide. You don't know when someone's like one step away from like ending it. And that you just sending a card or sending a note and telling them that you love them and telling them that they're special and that you're grateful for them. And these are all the reasons why, and really not making it a generic thing, making a very specific thing to that person. It could change the trajectory of their entire lives, guys. I know this is like, I'm not trying to be woo woo here. I'm being real. Okay. The next one is pay for someone's meal or buy someone's groceries. I know the economy is a little crazy right now, but like, fuck it. Like that shows that you're abundant. The next one is offer to babysit a friend's child. Maybe you have a friend that's like burnt the fuck out. They haven't got laid since, Clinton was doing the Monica Lewinsky blue dress cigar situation. Okay. And these moms, you know who I'm talking about. Offer to babysit them for free. Maybe they need a date night. Maybe they need to go, play with their puss for an hour. I don't know, but everyone needs help at some point in their lives. How awesome would that be just to offer that? And even if they say no, just the fact that you offer that to them, it's going to make them feel so good. Washing your friend or your partner's car. I do this for Matt all the time because he is a pig. He has this beautiful Lexus truck that cost an arm and a leg, I'm sure. And it's like a rolling trash heap. I'm like, oh, okay. And he's always like, thank you for doing that for me. It's just a nice little gesture. Buy something off of someone's Amazon wish list, or take care of an errand or a chore for your friend or partner. Take something off someone's plate. You can donate food to a local food bank. You can volunteer, like I was saying before, at a local charity, or you could teach a craft. Or if you have a talent or some kind of gift, you could go to a local assisted living facility. I went with my good friend, Tanya Russell. We went to a Catholic nursing home, and her two beautiful children, they made these beautiful cards for the people at the Catholic nursing home. And I'm telling you, we went there right around Easter to hand them out to the people. And we went and visited their rooms, and we sat with them while they were eating lunch. Some of these people, their eyes just welled up with tears, and they haven't had people visit them in years. And some of their families live in town locally. So, calling your local nursing home and saying like, hey, I'm an amazing flautist, or I'm an amazing singer or a pianist. I'm going to come and can I come and just, entertain these people? Or, maybe you're really good at knitting or some kind of a craft, or you just have some gift or talent that you could give back to them. Like, just call your local nursing homes. They would be so happy to have you. Believe me, 100%. The next one is to get out of this victim mentality is to set simple goals for yourself. I think that so many people, including myself, we set these like grandiose goals, and then we don't reach the goals. And then it just keeps reinforcing to ourselves that like, we're not good enough to do it. And we're just not that person. And that's not true. And, victim mentality makes people feel like they don't have control. They don't have agency over situations that happen to them. And one super practical step is to help you to take responsibility is setting achievable goals. And simple goals, in my opinion, as you're starting out, are the easiest ones to attain. So I want you to look at all the different areas of your life. We call them the 6 life makers, right? And think about something that you can achieve in at least one of them today. And then move on to something that you can accomplish this week, and so on and so on and so on, in perpetuity, forever and ever. Amen. The importance here is that you own the goal and you make it something that you personally can be responsible for. So here's just some like little ideas to do this. So number one is, this is a work one, right? So this would be in your like work, rich bitch, financial life maker. So set a goal to respond to one important email this week. And then this week, set a goal to learn one new trick to make your job and life at work easier, right? So I have important emails all the time in my inbox. I'm like, yeah, I'll get to that later, and it's just a procrastination thing. And I'm telling you, when you like just do the smallest of tasks, you just feel so good, and you get yourself on this high, and you just keep achieving and achieving and achieving. And you're like, oh my God, I did all the things on my list today, and learning one new trick to make your job easier at work is such an awesome thing to do. And it's going to make your life easier forever. If you're talking about relationships, so set a goal to make someone smile with a random act of kindness, and set a goal to get a date on the calendar to connect with an old friend that maybe you haven't talked to in a long time. Maybe they're struggling, right? If it's family relationships, set a goal to call a family member just to say hi and tell them what they mean to you. And this week, get a date on the calendar to have like a family game night, or go have a dinner with them, or maybe help them with something in their house. And, a sexual love relationship, set a goal to ask your partner 5 deep questions, and set a goal to plan like a fun date night. I talk about this a lot on the podcast. Matt talks about this when he comes on, and I think I'm going to butcher this, but there's like some kind of statistic that says like the average husband and wife only talks for like a combination of like 31 minutes a week. That's fucking crazy. So a lot of times when people get divorced or they fall out of love, quote unquote, is that because they're not communicating it with each other. So asking each other deep questions, right? That is how you align yourself deeper with the person you love. You could also spend 30 uninterrupted minutes on a hobby that you enjoy. It could be something in crafty, gardening, macrame. I don't know what you silly fucks are into, but like whatever you're into, like make some time in your day to do that, because when you do something that you actually enjoy, it makes you feel more accomplished, and it helps you get out of that victim mentality. And if it's a health goal, just say to yourself, okay, today I'm going to just focus on drinking 8 glasses of water, or I'm going to focus on eating like my meals on point, or I'm going to focus on just doing 30 minutes of cardio, or going to a class at the gym, or taking a walk around the block, right? Or pushing my kids in the stroller, or whatever it is, just movement, nutrition, anything that has to do with that, like just something small. It doesn't have to be like, I'm going to work out 6 hours today. When was the last time you worked out 6 hours in a week? Or it could be a spiritual goal. It could be, I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes today. It doesn't have to be an hour. You're not a monk in an ashram. You have a fucking life. Like maybe it's just doing breath work on the Ambitious app, or doing a guided meditation from the Ambitious app, or, listening to some sound healing while you're trying to fall asleep at night. Something small. And then it's habit stacking. So the habits just will get bigger and more grounded. And then all of a sudden you'll be doing big shit and you'll be accomplishing big things. And then you really prove to yourself that you're not a victim. The next one is, and this is a hard one for me, is taking a deep breath before you respond to someone. Okay. I get aggravated 1,000 times a fucking day. People come for me all the time. People are assholes. Okay. I want to fuck people's faces up on a daily basis. You have no idea. I am feral. Okay. I know that I look put together. I know that I have my, mango lipstick on, and I'm just in my like little black and white room downstairs podcasting in my house, and I just look all put together. I'm not. I'm feral. I am one step away from being a raccoon in a dumpster eating, donuts in the back of fucking Dunkin' that are 5 days old. I'm this close. Okay. I am a gangster motherfucker. I have done everything in my power to make myself calm and cool and collected and put together. It's an act, okay? Most of the days I want to fuck people up. If you knew how many times I wanted to annihilate someone a day, you would be very surprised. But lately what I've been doing is I just take a nice deep breath before I fuck somebody up. Because it's that pause. Because when you fuck somebody up, you know you're going to go down a bad path, and you know that you're going to end up losing. It's always the way it goes. So when you're presented with a challenge or someone with victim mentality, the knee-jerk reaction is to fuck them up. The knee-jerk reaction is to be in that state of fight or flight or freeze or fawn. And that is taxing your nervous system. It's a trauma response, and it's going to lead you down a really bad path. So in these kind of like feral, gangster, angry, boys in the hood situation, I want you to first notice where you feel discomfort in your body when someone shares something with you or asks something of you or does something victim-y that just puts you on a fucking spiral to hell. Does it make you tense up? Does it make your stomach sick? Does it make you clench your teeth? Does it make your shoulders hunch up towards your ears, right? What do you feel yourself getting warm? Do you feel like that cortisol release, that adrenaline release, where you feel that tingling in your body? Or does your blood pressure get high? Do you start to like get tachycardia, where your heart is like, boom, 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 I'm gonna fuck this bitch up. I'm gonna fuck this bitch up, boom, 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 right? And I know you're listening right now and you're laughing because you're like, bitch, that's me. That's fucking everybody. Okay, mostly everyone on this earth is feral. Okay, we're one step away from burning everything down. And the reactions in your physical body are going to give you a deeper insight of where your fears are and what your thoughts about what is happening, where they stem from. Because remember, like what they used to do with monks, right? It's really easy to be a monk. It's really easy to live in an ashram and have all your meals made for you and just be able to meditate and hit bells and gongs and shit. But what a lot of monks do back in the day was they would let in like the quote unquote village idiot to the monastery like once a week, because when you're surrounded by the idiots of the world and you know them, you love them, but they're fucking village idiots. Okay. They're boils on the ass of society. Then you know who you truly are when you're surrounded by the village idiots. Right. And always take a few deep breaths and step away before you respond with your first thing that comes into your head. My mother is like the worst for this. She says shit that is so mean sometimes. And you're just like, whoa, where is this coming from? She doesn't do this to me anymore. But when I was younger, she used to like just say shit that would hurt me. And I would be like, what the fuck? And then we'd get into a big fight, blah, blah, blah. We wouldn't talk for a while. Now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, she gets like this because she had so many things done to her in her life that this is just how she operates. So by stepping away and taking a breath, it stabilizes you and it just makes you realize like, oh, this has nothing to do with me. This is her, or this is him, or this is them, or whatever, right? And maybe sometimes it's more than a few breaths. Maybe it's like you got to take a walk. Maybe it's like you got to not talk to this person for a week. But don't just ghost them. Just be like, listen, I'm really upset right now. I just need a few days. Can you just give me a few days so I can collect my thoughts? Because I'm gonna say something I'm gonna regret and it's gonna hurt you. And I love you and I don't want to get into this, right? But then you also have to ask yourself this. Why is the thing that the person's saying to you triggering to you so much? Like, what are you afraid of? Where do your fears stem from? Why are you triggered? What don't I trust or like about this situation? Why don't I feel safe when these things happen? Because the story might be telling a little bit more about you and not so much about the person, right? The next thing that we have to do is we have to reframe negative thoughts. So the people who struggle the most with victim mentality often feel stuck in negative thought patterns, negative thought loops. This is why listening to or reading Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill comes hand in hand. I also spoke about Outwitting the Devil a lot in past podcasts. So go back to the old podcast and listen to the one about Outwitting the Devil. One way to achieve a victor over a victim mentality is by reframing your negative thought patterns. So I'm going to give you an example. If you often imagine worst case scenarios, which I can be a culprit to this, you have to reframe your mind with a new question the next time you find yourself going down that path. So what is the best thing that can happen? Instead of saying, what's the worst that can happen? Say, okay, what's the best outcome? What's the best thing that can happen? And by giving yourself a positive visualization, you can start to train your brain towards positive outcomes. So other positive reframing questions that you could use are, how does my perspective change if this person is doing their best? Because here's the deal. Everyone in the world is operating at their own level of consciousness. So just because you're this awakened, enlightened, ambitious HBIC doesn't mean that everyone else around you is cycling at that vibrational frequency, is cycling at that amount of open, expansive, mindful awareness, right? How do I help make other people's lives better? That's such a great question. If I knew X, fill in the blank, could not fail, how would I and others benefit? Like everyone's like, oh, I might fail. It's like, what if you win? What if you succeed? What if you're triumphant in this? Like, what if? Reframe the narrative, right? And this is one of my favorite ones is, okay, what happened to me today that was great and what am I grateful for? Practicing gratitude, I talk about this so much in my book, Ambitious, is gratitude, and gratitude doesn't have to be this hokey dokey blah blah thing. It could be like really empowering. The next thing is there's this huge, and I talk about this all the time. This is my number 2 life maker and breaker. It's setting boundaries. So codependency and enmeshment, and if you don't know what those two things are, Google them. They're psychological terminology. In relationships are common among people who struggle with victim mentality. You might notice this is an issue if you or someone you know often feels taken advantage of, overcommits themselves, feels burnt out all the time, has a hard time saying no, because remember, bitches, no is a complete sentence, or takes on other people's problems as their own. A lot of people who say that they're empaths are actually stuck in victim mentality. And one way that you can break that cycle is by doing work of setting pristine boundaries in your life. So for the best outcome, I recommend personally, and this is what I've done, is going through the process of talking with a therapist or counselor or a healer or someone who is well-versed in this, right? So we're outlining here with the boundary setting 5 steps. Okay. So number 1 is visualize and name your limits. So pay attention to what supports you as well as being your well-being versus what doesn't help you. Okay. You have to ask yourself in every moment, what is causing unnecessary stress in my life? What is causing unnecessary stress in my life? And then place boundaries, pristine, precise, empowered, strong boundaries. The next thing is to openly communicate those boundaries. guys, people are not mind readers. Even if they're psychics, they're not fucking mind readers. Okay. You have to tell people what you need for them to feel safe and powerful and happy. So openly communicating your boundaries and being clear on what you need and what you desire and what you can and cannot do is so important. And you have to ask yourself at every moment, what am I denying myself by saying yes right now? Because everything you say yes to now is denying yourself all of these other variables and outcomes, right? The next one is you have to uphold those boundaries. So it's one thing putting in them to place. So many people are so good at putting boundaries around things, but they're not good at upholding them, and definitely not good upholding them for the long term. So we have to remind people of our boundaries and try not to compromise. And even if you have to say to people, hey, remember, I don't do this thing. Like, remember, I don't go to this. I don't do this. I don't say this. I don't act like this. I don't hang out with people like that. I don't go to this place. I don't do those things. You have to keep reminding, because people forget, because people are wrapped up in their own dramaturgy, in their own lives. We have to learn how to say no. No is a complete sentence. I've done tons of podcasts about this. I write about it in my book. We work at shadow work a lot around this in my one-on-one coaching and my app. Learning how to say no. And the next time that you feel obligated to say yes to someone, you have to filter through whether or not yes aligns with your values, your goals, your dreams, your hopes, your needs, your aspirations, right? And when you say no, you don't have to give anyone a fucking excuse. No is a complete sentence, okay? And last but not least, we have to take time for ourselves. We must take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our bodies, our mental bodies, our emotional bodies, our physical bodies, our energetic bodies, our spiritual bodies, our psychological bodies, okay? We have to give ourselves self-care. We have to give ourselves self-compassion. We have to engage in activities and be around people who bring us joy and fill us up. And, sometimes it's easy as just asking yourself, what does my body need right now? What does my mind need right now? What does my energy need right now? And the next thing that we can do is learn to rebuild the trust that we've lost through the betrayal, right? Through people letting us down. So we share, obviously, in this podcast together, the common causes of the victim mentality. And like I said, they're primarily based on feelings of betrayal of trust in past experiences and past relationships. And if you struggle with a victim mentality, and this is one of my biggest things, I recommend discussing these root causes with a counselor, like I said before, a therapist or a healer that really understands about how you can rebuild trust. And as you unpack what contributes to your victim mentality, you'll start to discover how rebuilding trust with others can help you regain a positive outlook on your own ambitious life, right? So how do we rebuild trust? Just here's a couple of things that I used. So I ask open-ended questions. So questions that get people to open up and increase connection. And that typically begins with what, how, and why. Why and how and what. The next one is to recognize the power that oxytocin triggers. This is so huge. I talk about this a lot. We got to make eye contact. We got to give handshakes. We got to give people hugs. We got to fist bump people. We got to dance together. We got to laugh together. We got to sit together. We got to commune together. We have to be in sisterhood and community. And that is so important. Staying in our homes, trying to protect ourselves from all the bad people outside is not helping us be ambitious. And then we have to always, always be aware of our body language. Like, are you folding your arms? Are you crossing your legs? Are you crossing your arms? Are you crossing your fingers? Are you putting physical boundaries between you and someone else? We have to remain open. We have to lean in, and we have to be really present with others. So like, if you're trying to open up to others and someone's talking and you're on your phone, like, that's fucked. Or you're looking around. When people do this to me all the time, they look around when they're talking to me. I'm like, hi, I'm over here. What the fuck? Unless you're looking at my huge titties, which you can motorboat them if you want. But like, I don't think you're looking at my titties. I think you're looking at the person that's sitting behind me at the restaurant. And then we have to give ourselves compassion. And this is such a hard thing for me. And it has been such a difficult thing for me over the years. But I notice the more I do this, the better I feel. So as you discover why you have the victim mentality, what is the root cause? And you learn about how some of your past experiences with betrayal and trauma and drama and, witnessing other people's negative experiences and just unfairness and all the things in the world, and how those things have contributed to your outlook and to your lack of trust in others. You may have over the years, and I know I have, beaten myself up. And maybe even to the point where I said, like, I deserve this and there's nothing that I can do about it. And that's why self-compassion is so integral. It's so valuable in healing your victim mentality, right? And just like, here's some little tips, okay? Get reacquainted with how amazing you are. Like how I was saying, like when I did the planning board thing, it reminded me, like, I'm a fucking badass. Like I can fucking do anything. Like that's dope. So journal about your loves and your strengths and your values and like what makes you amazing and what your desires are and what your triumphs and successes and times that you've overcome hardship. Some people like to speak positive affirmations, right? Like when they're meditating, they maybe say like, I am amazing. I can do hard things. I am worthy. That helps, especially when you first start healing from this. One thing that I've learned is sending an encouraging note to myself, to my future self. So I journal every day and I go back and I reread journals from the past. I'm like, wow, I have fucking evolved. I have grown up and I have leveled up and I've become so much better than I used to be. And it's so wonderful to see that growth. And it reminds you that you can grow even more. You may want to self-soothe, like get a massage, go get a pedicure, right? Do stuff that reduces stress in your life. And as you guys know, I'm a huge proponent of eating healthy food, hydrating, meditating, movement, exercise, because all of those things show your subconscious mind that you are worthy, that you are enough, and that you are amazing, right? The next thing is identifying your needs. This is so important. It really has a lot to do with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And a lot of people that have victim mentality tend to struggle with taking responsibility because they tend to feel like what they do, it's not going to matter anyway. So why even try? But when you take responsibility for your own needs, it changes the game, right? So you ask yourself psychologically, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Am I tired? Excuse me, not psychologically. Wait for a second. Physiologically, am I hungry? Am I tired? Am I, dehydrated? Am I thirsty? Did I take care of my body today? Did I do something that filled me up? Safety and security is next, right? Am I secure? Do I feel safe? If I don't feel safe, what could help me feel more secure? What could help me feel safe? And do I feel loved? And do I feel like I belong? Right? Am I lonely? And if I am lonely, how can I take steps to reconnect with someone or to connect with someone that's going to help me fill that part of me up? If it has to do with your self-esteem, am I proud of myself today? What steps, if I'm not proud of myself today, what steps can I do to make myself feel proud of myself today? I have a busy day. I have to run out of this house and go and train people and coach people all day till like 8:00 at night. I'm recording this at 10:00, 9:30 in the morning. Okay. I didn't want to do this podcast today, but I'm like, the people need this. I'm doing it. So at the end of the day, when I reflect on my day, I'm going to say, I did everything I said I'd do. Even though I was, could have done 10 other things. I cleaned up my kitchen. I cleaned up my house before I left. I did my makeup. I did my podcast and I coached everyone. I signed people up for memberships. I did my things on the app. I did healing sessions. I did one-on-one coaching sessions for people that are, desiring to lose weight or get in shape or whatever. I'm going to feel proud of myself at the end of the day. But if I didn't podcast today, I probably would have still felt proud, but maybe not as proud as I could have felt. And self-actualization and psychological needs. Am I fulfilled? Am I doing things that bring me joy? Am I helping loft up my mental health? It's so important. So, so important. So no one's holding a gun to your head saying that you have to be a victim. Okay. 0 people. No one. Okay. No one is. It's just not the way. So you have as an HBIC, You have all the power inside of yourself to do everything and more. And I know you can do this. So if you're feeling like a victim, you have all the tools, do the damn thing. No more excuses. And I am so looking forward to watching you rise. I'll see you over at Katie Boyd's Fit Club. I will see you over at the Ambitious app. In the meantime, don't forget to stay ambitious. I love you, and I'll see you next Tuesday.